Hey besties, it's Juju, KP and TT. Tools down, time to chat work, life, well-being and relationships.
And you're listening to Let's Take It Offline. Welcome to the Take It Offline podcast. We're excited to be here and ready to share with all our listeners. We're three young professionals in our late 20s and 30s and currently working at some of the largest companies in the world whilst navigating life in all its aspects. On this podcast, we'll be looking to talk all things top of mind for young professionals these days, or yo pros, from career, well-being, finance, dating, ambition, and most importantly, having fun whilst doing all of this.
Welcome back to this week's episode of Let's Take It Offline podcast. This week, we're going to actually talk about intention setting for the new year, given that we're newly into 2023. And why we think New Year's resolutions don't work and the psychology behind it. But first, show us some love by rating, reviewing, and subscribing to whichever platform you're listening to from. And yeah, we look forward to reading all your comments. Before we start talking about the topic, let's do a quick check-in. TT, how's your week been?
It's been good. I feel quite recharged after the holiday. I use a bit of time this week to actually revisit all my passwords because recently someone told me that I'm an idiot for having the 3 same passwords for all of my accounts. So that's been one of the things I'm trying to get in order for the first few weeks of the year.
Yeah, I think I probably had the same thing. I probably use the same 2 passwords for every single thing.
We don't want to say what they are, but I think you can probably guess. Jules, what's been happening?
Yeah, look, I've just come back from an awesome holiday. I've actually got another holiday coming up, so I feel like it's never ending. I'm going to Vegas and LA coming up very soon for work, so I'm very excited. But it is winter over there. It's going to be obviously a different time of year for me. I haven't been to the US during the winter time before.
I reckon Vegas would be fine though because during summer it's so hot when I went. So I think you enjoy that a bit more.
Yeah, it'll be a little bit more intense, right? Because I think I went during the summer as well, and they had the mist going.
Yeah,
we're so
it's
hot.
in the middle of a desert, so
yes.
Yeah.
So
LA's different though. I think LA does get cold. Yeah.
Yes, apparently it'll be around 22, 23 when I go. So I think it'll be nice weather actually. Yeah, I might just go and check out the Hollywood sign. I'll send photos and rub it all in.
Can you bring some souvenirs back?
You love souvenirs.
Yeah.
I have to think
I love
about
souvenirs.
I have to think about what I can get over there. That's
The cheesier the better.
Yeah.
You can give me a snow globe.
You know what?
Goodness.
You have to go to Westwood. I spent 6 weeks at UCLA and I
Nice.
really enjoy the neighborhood. Such a cute little part of town.
Yeah.
You have to visit.
Yeah, I don't have too much time there. I've only got 2 or 3 days after Vegas, just to see another part of the states that I haven't seen. So it'll be good.
Yeah.
What about you, KP?
I'm excited for a new year. I actually felt like this 2022 went by in a blast, and it felt really different because obviously coming out of COVID, where those 2 years or so were quite, I guess, slower paced.
Yeah.
It really does feel like the last year has gone by really quickly. So really looking forward to what this year has in store, which is why we're talking about intention settings this episode. Firstly, I want to set the scene on whether setting New Year's resolutions is really popular. I think it's almost like everyone that's the first question everyone asks you at the turn of a new year. Oh, what's your New Year's resolution going to be? But ultimately we find that those kind of fall by the wayside after 2 months.
Yes, I love how all the gym memberships go up in terms of activations,
and
new
then drops
activations,
off.
but then totally tapers off throughout the
Yeah,
year.
exactly. And do you girls set New Year's resolutions and have they worked for you as well?
I have, and no, they don't work because mine is usually the same every single year.
Yeah.
And it's get abs or die trying.
Yeah, I used to as well. And then I just gave up because I just think that, with our concrete plans to get there, no matter how many resolutions you have, unless you have a pretty good plan to get there, it's never going to happen. And then
Yeah.
so I never actually sat down and did like planning for the year. But this year I'm really excited to start the process, and we're going to like intention setting instead of like
Yeah.
setting resolutions, right?
Yeah. So yeah, we touched on intention setting a little bit, but the reason is, and I've been reading a lot on this, the reason why New Year's resolutions don't necessarily work, or you lose the appetite to follow through, is because we focus too much on the outcome, and we don't necessarily take the steps that are gonna get us there. So you can't just sit here and go, okay, I am going to get fit, I'm gonna get abs. It's like, what steps are you gonna put in place, and what is your mindset gonna be when to get you to that phase? And that's all about in your mind and setting an intention.
Yeah, and I also think that if, you know, one of the things that someone told me once is failing to plan is planning to fail.
100%.
And I find that so true. But also, I guess the thing with intention is that you have a general direction. And even though things might not go like 100% to plan, you can still course correct and then get back on track, right? Whereas like if you have very concrete like resolutions in place and then things just fall by the sideway and you just don't get back to finish the goal for the year.
Well, I'm keen to hear what tips and tools that you guys recommend, because that's definitely not something I do very often. So open to obviously listening and hearing about what others do to see whether it will work for me.
I think firstly, let's take a step back and just unpack like the difference between goal setting, which is like typically what's defined as like, oh, my New Year's resolution, versus actually what like setting an intention is. So goals are static, so they are tied to the outcome, whereas like when intentions are like being in the moment, so you have an aim and a purpose for you to plan to do and to achieve. And it might sound like airy fairy or woo woo is how the term Jules likes to say, but it's basically enabling you to set your mind to and frame your mindset in a way that is going to dictate the direction you're going to take. So if you don't set an intention, and also you might hear this, like, for example, if you're doing a yoga class, your yoga teacher goes, oh, you can set an intention for your practice. Like, I used to not really understand what that means. But basically, it's like put yourself in a certain mindset on how you're going to approach it. So if I use the yoga class example, it's like my intention is that I'm going to try and survive this class, or like I'm gonna because that's exactly my mindset when I first started. Is like my goal is just to like survive to the end, but then that could transform as you start to progress. So it could be like, okay, I'm gonna go easy on myself. I'm not gonna get too attached to what I look like. Or like I'm gonna just try my best this class.
And I guess for the year ahead, like it's almost like survive or thrive. Like you can, you know, potentially some of us might have had like a really tough year last year, and then you want to sit down and think, well, for 2023 I really want to thrive instead of just surviving the year, right? So already the mindset has shifted, and you're going to the new year thinking, I'm gonna really make the most out of this year, instead of like I'm just gonna have to like deal with another year.
And that's so I love that phrase, because that mindset kind of takes you out from letting the day dictate and determine your mood and what's gonna happen. Like I know that going with the flow is like spontaneous and fun, but also you can't always just go with the flow with no direction. So that's what the mindset of like intention setting will do, is that it's gonna allow you to take a bit more control in determining how your day will like shape up. So on tips and tricks on how to actually approach intention setting, there's 5 steps. And this is something that you can do rather than saying that you have a New Year's resolution. Number 1 is firstly, state your intention. And that could be vocalizing it, or you can write it down. I find writing it down really helpful. Like I'm a list person, and I like to have like a little checkbox there. Like when I'm done, I'll tick it off. I find that visually that's really good, because once you actually state it or vocalize it, you're really making it real when you articulate it and show it.
Yeah, and I love the listing part as well, because sometimes just by the fact of you ticking off a box, you feel like, whoa, like I really achieved something there, and it just gives you that little push, a little nudge, and you're like, yep, I'm ready to like go for the next one. It's almost like gamifying the system a little bit for yourself.
Yeah, 100%. I think that makes it a bit more like fun. It's like when you've leveled up by like completing the task, or like that's why like the rings on the Apple Watch are so effective. The fitness goals.
Yeah, it's satisfaction. It's an element of closing something off, an achievement, and a sense of achievement, right?
Yeah.
So like, okay, I finished that. I can cross it off. Done. Move 100%.
On. Exactly. And so that really, the first step is really to set your intention. The second step is then to be clear. So we use that example, like I want to get abs, right? So that's a great goal that you have, but the steps to get you there, you want to be clear. So what are you going to do about it? Like, are you going to change your diet? Okay, so if you are going to change your diet, be clear about it. Okay, I am going to eat more healthy, or I will be more mindful of the portion sizes I'm having or what I'm putting into my stomach. So that's one way to be quite clear about it.
Yeah. And it's so much better than just saying to yourself as a New Year's resolution, I really want to get hotter this year. But
that's a cop out.
What does it mean? Like, do you want to lose fat? Do you want to feel sexier? Do you want to behave a certain way? So, breaking it down into what we call SMART goals. So SMART stands for specific. Stands for measurable, achievable, relevant, and what's the last one?
Relevant,
timely.
Time bound.
Yeah, timely.
I thought there was an even smarter one. What was the?
Of course, Jules has to come up with something else.
We'll stick with smart for now, and then I'll wrap it up later with some smarter goals.
Yeah. So in our example, like if you want to get hotter, then set some really concrete.
So what does getting hotter mean to you?
So it's like, first of all, it's about how you feel, right?
Yes.
Like for you to feel positive and feel good about yourself, then first of all, you need to get your sleep in check. That's the number one, like non-negotiable. And like if you're not sleeping enough, it will permeate into other areas of your life, and you're not getting rid of cortisol every day.
Yeah.
And then the second thing is like a lot of people think that you have to exercise harder to get in shape, but actually 80% of it is made in the kitchen. Like if you want abs, that's in the kitchen. Like what you put in your body is so important. Think about your body as like a temple, and you can have a bit of fun and have a snack and a treat here and there, but again, 80% of the time you should feed your body with really good fuel. And then the exercise part is more around helping you feel better, not just physically, but every time you achieve a goal in terms of like your running time or like how much you lift in the gym, that helps you boost your confidence as well. For example, if I go for a surf in the morning, that's also part of my exercise routine. And already like I feel like I've conquered something for the day. And so going to work, even though like a colleague might be nasty or my customer is not picking up, then I don't feel so bad anymore, because I'm like, you know what, I've got this day.
I actually, on that point, like I recently watched Jonah Hill's documentary with his psychologist Stutz.
Made me want to cry.
Yeah, it did. But one of the things that he talked about that really resonated with me, it's pretty much what you've summed up. It's just his theory around what he calls life force. And that was the Stutz life force model is at 3 levels. So the bottom level is primarily your relationship with your physical body. So the 3 elements on like sleep, eating, hydrating, I think. Those are things that you can do to actually regulate your body. And then the second level is your relationship with others. So you need to get that primary level down pat first, and then you can bring yourself to those around you and surrounding yourself with the right people. But the most important thing is your relationship with yourself, which is at the top of the pyramid. But without the bottom layer around getting your sleep down pat, what you're eating down pat, and getting hydrated properly, you can't really bring the best version of yourself to the other two.
It's just your physiology, right?
Yes.
Like that's the number one thing, and that's things that you can control too, right? Outside of everything else in the environment.
Exactly.
your brain is so powerful
Yeah.
in terms of the state of mind you put it in general. That's regardless of whether you're doing this exercise around, setting specific goals and how you're going to achieve them, but more so you have constantly every day the freedom of choice, whether if you have a bad day and it puts your mood down, you chose to be moody, you chose to go down that route, when you can go, you know what, the other person might be having a bad day, I'm not going to let it affect me. I'm going to move on.
Yeah.
You have that freedom of choice. And it's the same thing here. I think the same principles apply in terms of what mindset you need to be in to be able to achieve those goals.
Exactly. And so like it's all about like being able to control the controllable. And to do that, you should be clear in setting yourself your goal to get there. So yeah, if it is about if you want to look hotter, like what steps that are actually going to get you there.
Yeah. And make it seem, if you have a big goal, it will seem very hard to achieve. But if you break it down into little steps,
work backwards from it. Yeah.
Every day
Bite-sized chunks. Yeah.
every day you can sort of chip away at it, then it will become so much easier.
Yeah. Exactly. Number 3, this is all about the mindset, is that you need to be grounding it in positive affirmations.
Yeah.
Rather than framing it as I won't do something, frame it as I will do something. Or another one is not I should, but I could do something.
Yeah.
I'll use this example. It's like instead of saying I won't be late,
That's me.
you frame it as I will be on time, or I will be more on time, or I will be early. You just shift that mindset and reframe it so that it's more in positive mind. That actually has heaps of power to frame the way you think.
And it's interesting you say that, because you can say I'm going to be more on time. Even that has a slight negative connotation. It's just take the be more and just I am on time.
Yeah. You are.
I am on time.
Yeah.
End of story.
Yeah.
Because then you take, and this is something I learned about the brain, is your brain is dumb.
Yeah.
And it's the unconscious
Powerful,
mind.
but
Yes. Your unconscious mind is dumb.
And
It
also
doesn't-
incredibly self-critical and mean.
Yeah.
Yes. But it doesn't take negatives very well. It just takes, if you say I'm not going to be on time, it ignores it. If you just take any negativity out, it means that it will sink into your unconscious mind more, and then it'll become a habit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. And for our listeners out there, that's similar to me, who's going through this like phase of learning about manifestation and things like that. And I know Julie's going to laugh at me for this, but
I'm not there yet.
it's just, part of the manifestation is that putting your intention out there, but you also have to put in the hard work, right? And the mindset is so important. So back to the example of like, I want to be hotter this year. Think about, don't be like, oh, I want to be hotter, I need to be hotter. It's more that I am hotter. And, what would a hot person do in this scenario? Would they reach for, Macca's at 2 a.m. after a big night out? Or would they just like cut the losses there, go home, have some like water and have some hydrolyte? And if you're hungry, then
Eat, sleep.
yeah, if you're hungry, then just have like an egg or something and then move on. What would a hot person do? Would they procrastinate on working out, or they actually set themselves a goal to do something for themselves every day and go to the gym, or, go do something you
We're
love?
not recommending that you just have an egg or drink water when you're hungry. Please eat
Feed
a
yourself
healthy diet.
appropriately, but make better choices along the way. That's what I meant. Bad example about the egg, excuse me, but what? And once in a while, have some Macca's, because hot people do have Macca's too. But most of the time, make good choices.
Totally.
Exactly.
I'm sure hot people, I say hot people but people that are fit, let's call them people that are healthy and fit, have days where they indulge. I think Kendall Jenner, I was reading her diet. She says that eat whatever I want. Her diet is not about eating healthy. It's about eating whatever she wants, but she portion controls everything that she eats.
Intuitive eating, right? Like whatever feels good for the body. And I think if you get in tune with your body, then you start to recognize that if I eat a lot of chocolate, it doesn't sit well with me, or if I'm eating, I guess I feel really bad the next day. And so naturally you just get out of that habit of eating those things because it doesn't feel good.
Some chocolate's actually good for you.
Yeah,
like
dark
dark
chocolate's great.
chocolate,
Yeah.
it actually feeds certain good bacteria in your microbiome ecosystem. So it's not about, hey, cutting everything out, I think.
Yeah, that's exactly the importance of this point. It's that because I think as human beings, we actually naturally focus on the negative emotions. Like you could give someone really constructive feedback, but they're gonna end up taking away the critical components and focusing on that. So to reframe it in a positive affirmation mindset, you ground it in a lot more positivity. So if you're going for a new job, don't put your mindset is like, I won't get it because I don't have these skills. It's like, no, I will get this job because I have these skills that I'm building.
And I think your unconscious mind will defend you and try to protect you because of particular experiences that you have. But it's always good to just be like, you know what? I'm going to get it. I'm going to go in with confidence. I want to go get whatever goal, whatever I'm going to do. It's going to happen. And if you live it, I think, TT, you talk about it, living in it in the moment like you have it already, then it's like, it's less, it's not as far. It doesn't feel as far-fetching. Like, oh, wow, it's so far away. I can't get there.
And imagine living through life just thinking, I'm already there.
Yeah.
Like whatever goal, whatever things you want to achieve in life, you're there. And you just live in that state of abundance and not like lacking and not wanting more.
Yeah.
And you're like in such a better position already.
Yeah, exactly. Now, step number 4 is keep it simple and set steps and milestones that'll help you get there. TT talked about the acronym KISS. What does it stand for?
Keep it simple, stupid.
Yes. So keep it simple, stupid. One, like, since we're on the topic of fitness, like I'll give you an example of something that I set myself last year is I wanted to run my first half marathon. So that's the goal. The intention actually behind that was that I'm gonna get fit enough to be able to run that half marathon fully without stopping, no walking. I'm going to make it to the end. That's the intention that I set myself, rather than being, I'm going to finish a half marathon. And the way to keep it simple and have steps is the first week, I'm not going to go from 0 to 100. I'm not going to try and aim for like 22 kilometers straight away. I keep it simple. Like I'm going to start out by first week, I'm going to run once a week, 5Ks. And then gradually increase that. Like I'm going to run twice a week and then bump it up to by 2 kilometers every time. And then by like halfway through the training period, I'll be like, okay, I'm going to really push myself and do sprint training or hill runs as well to really build that up. So set yourself those milestones and have like a plan so that you can actually look back and see how far the journey has been, but also it's a way for you to synthesize it and see that the goal is not too hard to achieve. Like you can set yourself some steps to get there.
Yeah, that's a really good example for fitness, right? But for our single ladies out there, actually, I want to see what you guys think about how to make it simple and break down the steps of getting yourself into a healthy relationship.
Oh yeah, single men and women.
Yeah. Oh, that's true. Yeah.
I was reading through a book recently around like the new age of online dating. A step could be like, firstly, the first step is, if you're getting on the apps, start with 1. And if the limiting thing is that you don't have good photos to put on your profile, like go and get a friend to help you take a series of photos. Go do a professional photo shoot if you even have to. Like go. That's like the first step.
Professional
like,
photo shoot.
Yeah.
Hey, I've done it for my LinkedIn. It costs like $50, and
Yeah.
why not do the same thing for dating? Right?
Yeah. So like that's actually the first step. Like if it's getting good photos that's limiting for you, go get a friend, go get an accountability buddy, and to do that. Like start small.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll even take it one step back and say, if you're trying to work towards having a healthy relationship and you haven't met this person yet, I would even say like set some intentions and ask yourself, well, first of all, why do I want to be in a relationship? And second of all, am I ready, right? Because Liz will say in that song, am I ready? But basically you want to also look at yourself and do a bit of a stock take to see, are you in a position to be in a healthy relationship? Because it takes two to tango, right? Like if you're not ready, if you still have some like emotional traumas or things that you're trying to work through, then even if most amazing person, you will still not be ready. Yeah. So work on yourself first. And then when you feel like you're ready and you feel like, well, I think I'm ready to meet that person, then start to like either download the apps one at a time to start with, invest in making a really good profile, or if it's not your poison of choice, then start to put yourself out there, either asking friends for recommendations or going to hobbies and events where you think you want to meet like-minded people.
I can give you, I guess, a few things to think about from a healthier relationship, maybe someone that's already in a relationship too. Something that my partner and I do is we compliment each other every day on all the key things that we like about each other. So we're not focusing on like negative things. And then we make sure we take turns organizing dates. One person's not the person that's organizing all the dates. So it's like we're getting very interesting ideas. One was axe throwing. I was like, interesting, babes.
Actually on that, like a friend of mine, she organized dates according to the alphabet. So you do something that's letter A, i.e. axe throwing.
That's
cool. That's
B
cool.
could be like a beach day.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's like something like that. That's similarly, it's like keeping it simple. It's like then it's like a no-brainer. Like you have to stick to the alphabet, but it's like it's like kind of a tool or that you have in place to help you build a healthier relationship.
And it does help, right? Because it keeps it positive regardless of where you are on your life journey, experience, whatever's going on. People have things going on behind the scenes all the time, but when we set out these goals in our relationship is actually very happy and something to look forward to either the week or the day. It makes it a really nice relationship. Right?
And also like I think why dates work so well, especially if it's an activity, is couples bond through a chemical called vasopressin, and that's something that you actually get when you share an experience together, especially when you try to problem solve together. So I guess if you go into axe throwing and then you go against another team, for example, that's a really good way of getting that chemical up, right? And then you're like, oh yeah, I'm bonding with this person because we're on the same team and we're trying to solve something and go against the other teams.
I think he's doing it so that I can get my aggression out, maybe. I'm not sure.
Pretty much.
And also like I think it'd be really good if you do end up setting like those milestones to celebrate when you hit those milestones, because it's to celebrate the progress that you're making, and celebration could be the smallest of things. It could be like rewarding yourself with like a drink at the end of the day if you're like on a diet, right? Or if you're with the dating, right? You could reward yourself by, I don't know, taking yourself out for a pamper session or like something just as small to celebrate. Just to acknowledge the steps that you've taken. And the fifth one is actually one of the most important and the hardest to do. And that is to call yourself out on your self-limiting beliefs and to detach from the outcome. And the reason why that is so important is because if you ground yourself on the result of what you're trying to achieve, you don't enjoy the process and the journey. And that's actually the fun part of all of this. And you need to acknowledge during that whether you have those self-limited beliefs like, oh, like I'm not gonna be able to get fit because genetically my body is not designed like that. That mindset could really shift to being very much like, I'm not getting fit is not my purpose, but I know I can get strong. So how do I get stronger? And I know I can. And that could be like lifting weights, it could be doing Pilates, but shifting that I can't mentality to I can is really powerful. Yeah.
Yeah, and I love your point about detaching yourself from the outcome, because a lot of time we might like kick the door or, you know, like be really angry if we try for something and then it doesn't pan out the way we want it to. But maybe it ended for the better. One closed door is another open opportunity, right? So
100%.
maybe you think that I want to lose like 5 kilogram or whatever, that will be the ideal outcome, but maybe actually like try to change the composition of your body, like so then you have more muscle mass and fat cells, and also a really good outcome.
Decreasing your fat percentage, I think.
So it's not really the weight that you should be worrying too much about, but it's more so like about percentage of fat in your body and how much muscle mass you have, right?
And TT, I know you haven't got a scale, and I've been harping on about telling you to get a scale. My scale is one of those smart scales that tells me the weather, but also my BMI, which is, I actually love it because it helps me think about, okay, I want to get to, 17% fat instead of 23 or whatever it's at the moment. And it helps me kind of measure what I need to eat, how I get there. And for me, I think it's not always about the ab scenario. It's also about a healthier lifestyle in general. I feel good when I work out every day.
Yeah.
Releasing the dopamine and the serotonin as well.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
And then another part of it as well is the growth that you get out of trying something new. And I know we've been using like fitness goals and things like that as an example, but say if your intention for the year is to generate a new source of income for yourself, right? And then you're like, well, I've never really done anything outside of my corporate job, so where do I start, right? And so you might procrastinate. I know I'm a massive procrastinator because I'm just really scared of like stuffing it up.
Yeah, and
that
that is your self-limiting beliefs that you're talking
right?
about.
And your unconscious mind telling
and then
you
you're
can't.
self-sabotaging already. You haven't even started yet. So I think one thing that I want to work on this year is to really think about to get everything perfect before you get started, but just to get started and you learn along the way.
100%.
Just do it like Nike.
Just do it. Yeah, exactly. Because the reason this is important is because if you're attaching yourself to the outcome, I'll use a work example here. If your goal is to earn 100K as your base salary, let's say, you could if you're attaching to that goal, I will guarantee you that once you reach that goal or outcome, it's probably not as rewarding as you think it is.
Yeah, because you realize you actually get taxed more, and then you're like, oh well, I actually.
Yeah, but I would say that like I think that the when you reach that goal, the enjoyment and satisfaction from it can be quite fleeting because your mindset automatically goes then, okay, now my next milestone is going to earn 200K. So
the post keeps changing.
The goalpost keeps shifting.
Correct,
and so
yeah.
that's why you shouldn't necessarily attach yourself to the outcome, but what the process and the journey you went to get there. So in order for you to kind of get that pay rise, what did you do? You might have built a new skill set. You might have changed your attitude towards work. You might have worked harder. Like those are the things you should be grounding yourself on, because you setting a final goal or outcome. Your mindset then shifts comes from I need to earn this amount of money to, okay, I'm going to show up and try my best and work harder. And that's kind of what you actually take away.
And sometimes the vocalization part is so important because say if you want to go for a raise at work, the first thing you should do is to tell your manager, hey, this year I want a promotion. Yeah. Right? And then the rest, that's you trying to manifest the outcome. And then the rest will, like, you have to come up with a plan, and then you chip away at it. Yeah. And then you will move yourself towards that direction. Yeah. And it's all about like thinking that you're worthy of whatever you want to achieve as well. Yeah.
The other way to pivot and think about it is the actual detaching yourself from the outcome. The outcome is how you measure your success, and it's a metric as such. Yeah. But the important part is that process of getting there. Yeah. But look, even if the outcome is, let's say, 50% of what you wanted, you still got an outcome. It might not be the most positive outcome, but you're halfway there.
Yeah,
So it's like
exactly.
if you shoot for the moon, you might end up in the stars kind of thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the stars isn't a bad place to be,
Not
right?
at all.
So
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Just back yourself.
Just back yourself, exactly.
You know what? I'm so excited now to get started and set some intentions for the year. So should we talk about potential ways that you can do it?
Yeah, and I will start with my favorite one, and it's the simplest, which is writing a list. I find I'm a big to-do list type of person, and I get a lot of satisfaction in actually crossing them off. Every year, I actually write down a list of firstly goals that I want to do. So, a big one, for example, is I want to take my parents on a trip overseas. That's my goal. And then from there, I will actually set certain intentions behind it. It's like, firstly, like, okay, I'm going to work a bit harder this year to earn more money and to save better. And then to set a date to take my parents on this trip and to tell them that this is what I'm going to do. So I found that by writing it down onto a list, I was actually making it real. And every couple of months, I could go every month or so, I could do a check-in with myself and see how many of those things I might have ticked off on my list. And if I haven't, then I can be like, oh crap, like I can actually do this one, or I need to start doing this one in order for me to achieve this by the end of the year. So that's my favorite, like a to-do list.
Maybe to build on that as well, one of the things I came across recently, I'm trying to do it. It's called a live book, which is an online sort of program available through Mindvalley. Those of you who don't know what Mindvalley is a bit of like a self-development platform. So you can get an app. It's also available on the website as well. But the live book actually touches on 12 different areas of your life, right? And it's very comprehensive. So outside of things like, like financial, emotional, intellectual, emotional, it's also about like what sort of character you want to represent, how you want to be as a parent, your relationship socially and also romantic and love. But basically the idea is that you want to get very clear and pretty much design how you want your life to be, right? And there are, for each of the 12 categories, you can sit down and do 4 things. So first of all, you define your beliefs, and these are the beliefs that you want to have going forward. It's not like your past beliefs, it's more like what you want your beliefs about these areas to be. And then the purpose, which is the why. Like, why do you want each category to look the way that they do? And then you have like the vision, which is, okay, if you're there when you get to your ideal life, what would each of those categories look like to you? And then finally, it's the tactics and the strategy to get yourself there. So then you get super clear in terms of, okay, I want my life to be a certain way in these 12 categories. And then I know the why, and that will keep you motivated, right? Because if you know your why, then you always go back to that and it keeps you going.
Yeah.
And then you get really clear in terms of like what's the actions you need to take.
Yeah.
So it's expensive. I'm doing it so you don't have to.
Yeah.
But I think it's worth it because at this point in my life, I really want, it's almost like turning to a new chapter, and I want to make sure that, like all the habits and things that got me here today would not get me where I want to be next. So I need to completely change my paradigm.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to run a session and you're going to do a life book session for us and we get it for free, right? Yeah.
Well, actually, it's really interesting because the program actually gives you like a full book, and then you can go back and redo it whenever you want. So there's
you can do it every year.
Yeah, you can if you want, right? But I think they recommend to like plan for the next 3-5 years.
Yeah. I guess like writing down a list and life book is very similar. It's you taking the time out for yourself to write down, and that goes to the step 1, stating your intentions about what you want to do. Yeah.
And can I just say as well, like once you get clear on what you want out of your life, then it's very easy to set boundaries and say no to the things that will take your energy and time and not really
add value.
Yeah. And
or get you closer to your
and not putting you on a path to get to your ideal life.
Yeah.
right?
I completely agree
Yeah.
with that one. If you're not big on the writing and jotting down things, the third thing you could do is all about visualization and vision boarding.
I like this one. I like the sound of this one.
Scrapbooking.
Yeah, so the power of visualization is about like painting and creating what you envision to be like your life in X amount of time. And it's hugely popular actually, where I did this virtually on a computer, but people use magazines and they will cut out not just images but words
Yeah.
that call to them.
Yeah.
And they create a vision board essentially of what they want to be, what they want to do, and the embodiment of the words or values that they want to have into next year.
I can relate to like the creativity side, the mood
Yeah.
boarding,
Yeah.
the mood
And-
boarding.
and-
Yeah.
and once you've created that, you can have that in your study around your house so that you constantly look back at it
Yeah.
and you can be reminded to see, okay, this is what I aspire to be, and am I on the path to do that?
Yeah, so part of the live book program, like they encourage you to actually have photos of what you think your ideal life will look like. And I love that idea, and I get so excited about it, but I don't have a printer and I don't really buy magazines. So I just go on Pinterest and start like my live board. But you can easily like Google search for like a platform online that you can do it with. And yeah, like it's really fun. It's almost like when you look at those images, you get to live in that moment when you're already there.
Yeah. And the other thing is like I did this with a friend, but if you're in a relationship, you could actually do this with a partner. So get your partner to do a vision board for you and you can do one for them, and then kind of take a look at
Cute.
what they
Might
see.
do
Yeah.
one for like us. Like, what does
Yeah.
our
I think that
relationship look like?
Should we get
Yeah.
together over wine and then or non-alcoholic?
Our friendship.
Our friendship
Yeah.
where
Board.
We can each like make our own, and we can chat about how we keep each other accountable. Right? That's an idea. Yeah,
That's
it's
cool.
like a
That's
a
cool.
little
And
party.
you know, me with my shopping habits, I'm actually looking for a vision board online right now, guys.
yeah.
Another one that is more methodical, I'd say, is this notion around habit tracking and habit stacking. So picking up a habit is really hard. It takes repetition.
Yeah.
It takes consistency. One way that you can actually do this, firstly, is this concept of habit stacking, where you attach a certain action to something that you're already doing on a regular basis. If that is, for example, working out in the morning for 30 minutes, right? The first thing you could think about is what do you do when you first get out of bed? Brush your
Brushing
teeth,
my teeth,
or
yeah.
like
You don't want to know.
Not scrolling through my social media.
Yeah.
No. Not in 2023.
Yeah.
We left that behind.
yeah. So it could be firstly, let's use brushing your teeth. Like as soon as you brush your teeth, then the immediate next thing you do is maybe get changed and do a 30-minute workout. Like start to attach new habits that you want to pick up to things you already do habitually.
Yeah.
And then once you get that going, you can then stack another habit onto it. Like for example, you could be getting out of bed and brushing your teeth. That's number one. And then if you're looking to do a 30-minute exercise off the back of that, and then you come back and you make breakfast. Not eating breakfast is, I think, like a lot of people do that.
Yeah.
But if you want to start to actually eat breakfast too, then you attach that onto the workout. So
Yeah.
then you start to stack those habits.
I think most of what you just mentioned there is part of James Clear's book called
Atomic Habits.
Atomic Habits, and definitely highly recommend to read that. I think there's a bunch in there that's really helpful. For example, like make it super easy to get to a habit. So if you want to go to the gym first thing in the morning, make sure you pack like all your gym gear in the morning, the night before, or ready to go. And then in the morning, like you just brush your teeth and go straight away. So then you don't have an excuse of like, oh, like I forgot my shoes, and then just fluff around for like half an hour. So definitely read that book, and there's so many like good tips in there that you can implement as well.
I used to be a evening gym person.
Yeah.
And I used to say to myself, I'm not a morning person. I'm not a morning person. I'm not a morning person.
Yeah. See,
But
that
now-
that is the mindset.
Yeah, but now I flipped it and I went, you know what? I'm going to get up early today. I'll just try it once. And I actually got addicted to the fact that
Yeah.
I get it out of the way.
Yeah.
I'm like, brilliant. Now I have evenings to do whatever I like. When I finish work, I don't have to think about working out. I've already done it.
100%.
Yeah.
And now I actually really enjoy getting up at, 6 o'clock in the morning to go to a class,
Oh
or
my
it really
goodness.
sets the tone for my day.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
remember back when we first started going boxing together in the morning. Every morning was a struggle with George.
We
She's
were
like,
dying. I was like,
I'm still finding parking. I haven't left the house yet. It was like literally 5 minutes before class, and she's like,
I'm dead.
I don't
I'm
have
tired."
a parking spot.
Yeah.
But
But
now,
now-
she's a changed person.
yeah,
right?
now
And
I
all-
actually can say I'm a completely a morning person now.
Yeah, and it all started with one time that you wanted to give it a try.
And how long did it take you before it became a habit?
I would say a month.
Yeah.
Mm.
So
I
it
think
usually takes
21
that long.
days
Yeah.
is the scientific amount of time.
Yeah.
But yeah, I
Where-
think it's also personal.
Where now I don't think about it. Now it's just like, you got to
It's who
get
you
up.
are.
Yeah, you got to get up. You got to go to this class. And if
Yeah.
you don't do it, you have to try and fit something in the evening. And it's like, oh, what a hassle. I have to do something after work now.
Yeah.
I could be making dinner early and going to bed early. I know I'm such a
Yeah.
grandma. But now, I got to go work out. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, why didn't I get it over and done with?
Yeah.
I also want to touch on like keeping track as well of how you're progressing. I personally I started journaling. I really like that because I like to be able to go back and read previous entries to see how far I've got or like the shift in my behavior or mindset. So journaling is a really good tool. I think you should regularly check with yourself, like check in with yourself, like, and it can be like a bit of a ritual. So I just saw this beautiful journal from Axel and Ash. It's called Pause. So it's like 20-minute of check-in every week to kind of see like what you did in the week and how you feel, and maybe burn a little candle, have a tea, and just like make it a very safe and comfortable space for yourself. And also have accountability partner as well, right?
Accountability partners are awesome,
Yeah.
especially for fitness. I think
Yeah.
us three have been pretty good. Like sporadically, I think it's changed
Yeah.
between you guys depending on, like if you're surfing, I'm like, okay, who am I going to go to class with? I'm like,
Yeah.
KP, are you free? Let's go do this. So I actually quite like, because if I don't have an accountability partner, it's really sometimes easy to fall off the rails.
Yeah.
But I think I've been pretty good. I
think
tend
you are.
I tend to go to stuff on my own, even if I don't have.
I think accountability buddy is so good when you're first getting started.
Yes.
It's someone there to hold you accountable firstly, but to help you build confidence.
Make it
Yeah.
fun.
and make
Yeah.
it fun.
Yeah.
It's the worst when you're trying to do something on your own to start with.
And you don't have to.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like I'll take like running a half marathon as the example. So
Mm.
I didn't do it alone. I actually firstly had an accountability buddy with someone who was actually a really seasoned runner.
Right.
And they would run with me at my pace and actually teach me how to pace myself firstly, and how to approach running, like that mindset of going the distance. And now I've actually found different like running groups around Sydney where every single week, if I rock up, there'll be someone there
Yeah.
to run. And running with someone is so much easier, just like going to a gym or doing a podcast together,
Yeah.
right? By having an accountability buddy or someone you're doing with, it's like you have a partner there trying to achieve the same goal as you.
There's an element of fun
Yeah.
that plays a part, because I look forward to the fact that after class we might grab like a little coffee and have a little chat about life or what
Yeah.
we're doing for the week. So it's like a nice socialization afterwards that I
Yeah.
kind of look forward to as well. So it's not just the fitness.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, okay, I'm going to work out, but I deserve to have a coffee right
Yes.
after.
Yeah. Yeah. So there you have it. I think we touch on so many different points there.
Yeah.
And I guess it's just that excitement of starting a new year. Like, I know it's silly because, really, if you think about it, nothing's changed. You're still the same person from the 31st of December to the 1st of January. But at the same time, like you can also be a new person because your mindset is changing and you're getting clear on what you want to achieve for the year. And I hear so many stories about people setting like vision board for themselves, and then at the end of the year or like 5 years later they find that one vision board where they have a photo of a house they really wanted and they actually live in a very similar house. Like, I know it all sounds woo-woo according to Jules, but you know, if you don't try you don't know. And I think it's just that fun and excitement, having a bit of planning in your life, and knowing where you want to go, and then just finding the right people and the right behavior, and you know, just kind of set yourself on that path.
Yeah. I also think that once you do that, you'll surprise yourself with how much quicker and faster you achieve those outcomes that you set for yourself if you follow a clear direction of how you're going to get there.
Yeah.
So just to recap, we want you to take away is don't just focus on setting a New Year's resolution. Actually be intentional and set intention on how you're going to do it. So firstly, you'll have to state them and vocalize what they're going to be. Secondly, be clear with what you're going to do.
And
why. Thirdly is ground it in positivity. Take a I will mindset instead of I won't mindset. Fourthly, kiss. Keep it simple, stupid. The last one is to have a growth mindset and stop and call yourself out when you have self-limiting beliefs.
Earlier on in the episode, we talked about the SMART framework, right? But I wanted to leave everyone with the SMARTER framework. And the E is evaluate. Go back, evaluate all of your intentions. And then the R is readjust. Readjust any habits that you might have not changed. Keep yourself accountable. And did you set yourself goals that you couldn't achieve? Readjust them. It's okay to. That's what I'll leave you with in terms of how I look at things as well, is constantly I'm readjusting, making sure that I'm making those changes if it doesn't work for you. And we all change as people, and our goals kind of change as we move along and get older as well. But I wanted to check in with you guys. What are we going to leave behind for 2022, and what are we actually going to bring into the new year with us?
Leaving behind, that is a really interesting one. I think for me, if we think about like the 5 steps, I think I want to leave behind number 5, which is those self-limiting beliefs. Having more mindfulness and calling myself out on those self-limiting beliefs will be the thing I want to leave behind. And it goes
bringing forward.
And that goes into bringing forward, like be more open and saying yes to things and back myself more. Like, that's what I want to do.
Dang,
awesome.
They're good.
They're good.
I'm similar. But,
TT? How similar?
so something I want to leave behind is the attachment to outcomes and expectations, both from myself and from other people. And also being late to things.
Don't worry, we'll keep you accountable.
And then something that I want to bring into the new year is healing. Yeah, just that sort of like healing vibe of like let the past go and going into a more healthy mindset and life.
How about you, Jules?
I think I'm on a similar vein to you ladies. I want to leave behind negative energy in general. Any negative energy.
And what does that mean?
That could mean someone cut me off while I'm driving. I am going to remain very poised and leave any
let it go.
Cursing. I'm just going to let it go. Nothing happened. I'm just going to drive very calmly, but also other things like any past experiences that have held me back from things. I think that's really important that we don't hold ourselves back with bad experiences. I'm going to leave all of that negativity behind in 2022 and 2023. I'm going to bring this new me. I'm confident, I'm happy, and I'm just positive.
A positive mindset.
Keep it simple.
Love it.
Like you said.
I feel like this is the part where we each like burn a piece of paper, like in that episode of Friends where Rachel, Phoebe, and Monica got together and they burned something from ex-boyfriends.
Dead to me.
And then the firefighters came and they had like they wanted to like date them, but they turned out they're all married and cheating.
I
don't
want to burn your house down today, so
figuratively in my head, I'm burning all the past like 2022 woes and bring in 2023 with a very positive mindset, and with all of our new friends that are listening to the podcast.
Yeah.
I think that's the same for, very similar for all of us. So that's great that we're all on the same page.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Can I just say that super grateful to be able to do this together, and hopefully it will help some of you out there to inspire you for the year, and we're grateful for you listening if you are. We love you, and we're sending you a lot of good vibes.
Yeah, and you can do it as long as you put your mind to it.
Don't let us flop.
And set your intentions to it. But yeah, we hope you have enjoyed this episode and maybe think about how you start this new year fresh, not necessarily setting yourself a big lofty goal or resolution. Just take those small steps there and be intentional with what you do. If you've liked this episode, make sure you leave a comment, a review, rate, and subscribe to our platform. We love hearing from our listeners on what you thought of the episode, and keep listening. We'll see you back next episode. You've been listening to
Let's Take It Offline.